Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we're talking about something a bit solemn. Although it has been a week since it has happened, I just recently found out myself. Wrestler Bobby Eaton has passed away. This is something that sucks. Bobby Eaton, if you've watched my other videos on wrestling, you know I've talked about how I've been watching wrestling since I was young. I mean, I remember when I was about 4 or 5, sitting watching wrestling with my father, my grandfather, sometimes both. We watched old school wrestling. I mean, we're talking 1980s. Um, so yeah, these are some of the earliest memories I have of wrestling. And Bobby Eaton was a big part of that. Because I remember as a kid, I wasn't yet big in understanding the whole heel and face persona and everything like that. I just knew I was supposed to root for the Rock and Roll Express, and I just disliked the Midnight Express. Oh, they were so evil. They were so villainous. And of course, Bobby Eaton is a member of that Midnight Express. First teaming with Dennis Condrey before teaming with Stan Lane. And the Midnight Express itself was managed by Jim Cornette. Yeah, they won the NWA WCW um, tag team belts a number of times. And that was the feud I always remembered. Rock and Roll Express versus Midnight Express. But yeah, Bobby Eaton would later go solo. And I remember him in WCW as a solo star. He wrestled and even owned a few solo lower tier belts, like the TV title. So yeah, uh, he wrestled in a number of promotions. Um, if we look at Wikipedia, we see promotions like NWA Mid America, Continental Wrestling Association, Mid South Wrestling, which was a fairly decent sized one. Um, World Class Championship Wrestling, and then Crockett Promotions, which would become WCW. But yeah, um, he would also go to other wrestling organizations like Smoky Mountain and New Japan Pro Wrestling. He'd return to WCW. Um, he did a one night only appearance on TNA Wrestling. Let's see. I'm wanting to say he was even in the WWE, WWF, but I'm not sure on that. They don't mention anything about it. But yeah, most I remember, just because it was so accessible on TV, was WCW. Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW. He would also team with people like, I forget if he was Steven. He's been Steven Regal, William Regal, um, but he and Regal would team to be the Blue Bloods. At that time, he even went by the name Earl Robert Eaton. So yeah, he'd been around for a long time. He'd done work as a ring boy. You know, if you listen to Jim Cornette's podcast, The Cornette Experience, which is this is where I heard that about Eaton's death, because I had no clue. I'd not really checked news or anything in a while. But yeah, he is one of the names you need to remember if you want to talk about old school wrestling. He's a name you need to give his due to, because he had done so much, and even personally, they always talked about him being a great person. So yeah, um, as far as the death, according to NBC News, they don't know. Um, it just says Eaton's cause of death will be is or was unclear. So yeah. Eaton's sister said she knew Eaton wanted to be a wrestler from about the age of 3. And supposedly there are even tributes to Eaton from the big wrestling organizations. Um, so yeah, or at least mentions of Eaton from the big wrestling organizations. If you look at going back to Wikipedia again, you see his list of championships and accomplishments. He was Georgia Championship Wrestling Television Champion, International Wrestling Cartel Tag Team Champion, Jim Crockett Promotions WCW US Tag Team Champion, World Tag Team Champion, WCW World Television Champion, Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling. He was the Tag Team Championship champion there. NWA Mid America, later Continental Wrestling Association. He was the AWA Southern Tag Team Champion, CWA World Heavyweight Champion, NWA Mid-America Heavyweight Champion, NWA Mid-America Tag Team Champion, 6 times he held that belt, NWA Mid-America Television Champion, and also NWA 6-Man Tag Team Champion, which is a team of 3 people. 6-man matches are. Mid-South Wrestling Association, he was Tag Team Champion. NWA Bluegrass, he was Tag Team Champion. NWA Rocky Top, he was Tag Team Champion. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, he earned Tag Team of the Year, was ranked number 27 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in 1992, and ranked number 91 of the top 500 singles wrestler in 2003 as far as PW years go. Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, he was inducted in the class of 2019 as part of the Midnight Express with Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose. Smoky Mountain Wrestling, he was Beat the Champ television champ. World Class Championship Wrestling, he was NWA American Tag Team Championship. And then Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame, class of 2009. Wrestling Observer Newsletter Most Underrated 4 times. Also for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, he had Tag Team of the Year in 1986, 87, 88. Had the Most Worked Match of the Year, 1991. Yeah. So, he was highly decorated, and he was one of the stalwarts of wrestling in the 80s and early 90s. I just wanted to talk a bit about Eaton. Because, yeah, like I said, he died August the 4th. Just literally a week from the time this video goes up, so. If you are a wrestling fan, Bobby Eaton is a name you need to at least recognize when you hear it. Say, yeah, Bobby Eaton. But that'll be it for this episode. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell something, not have trouble, or you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.